Welcome back to the Noir Archive. Today, we open a secret archive from the closing days of World War II. This is the dark history of Die Glocke, the Nazi bell, and the secret operation that allegedly shattered the boundaries of time and space. What happened in the depths of Project Riese? Let's head into the shadows. April 1945. As the last remnants of the Third Reich writhed under the boots of the Red Army, a dead silence fell over the underground bunkers of Project Riese in the remote Ural Mountains of Poland. Outside, snow fell to cover the footprints of escape. But deep inside the mountain, the darkness was not just the absence of light. It was an entity. In the center of the abandoned laboratory, something was still breathing. A massive bell-shaped object, taller than two men, stood like an ancient mechanical god. It made no sound, but the air around it vibrated, tingling with a faint, eerie violet light. That was Die Glocke, the Nazi bell. When the Allies entered Berlin, they found everything, from blueprints of V-2 rockets to ultra-fast jet aircraft. But when it came to the bell, all they received were torn dossiers and a terrifying silence from the survivors. The keeper of the key to this secret, SS General Hans Kammler, the chief architect of the most destructive weapons, evaporated along with the most crucial documents right under the noses of the world's intelligence agencies. Did he die, or did he defect to another dimension? People whispered about Zerum 525, the red, devil blood-like liquid inside the bell. They spoke of scientists who died in excruciating agony, their bodies decomposing into a gelatinous mass the moment this device was activated. Was this a nuclear weapon, an anti-gravity machine, or something far more terrifying, a portal that bent the flow of time? Welcome back to the Noir Archive. Today, we will reopen the most tightly locked, most insane file in human history, Die Glocke, Hitler's time machine. Year 1943. As Allied bombing raids began turning German cities into rubble and the ghost of the defeat at Stalingrad still haunted them, Adolf Hitler ordered an impossible plan. In Lower Silesia, in the Ural Mountains, present-day Poland, a project codenamed Riese, meaning the giant, began construction. It was a massive labyrinth located hundreds of meters underground, a city of darkness designed to withstand any nuclear or chemical attack. But the question is, why? Why, at a time when the Third Reich was running out of resources, when the military needed every liter of gas and every bullet, did Hitler pour over 150 million Reichsmarks and millions of tons of concrete into this place? Historical data shows that the amount of concrete used for Project Riese was more than the entire amount used to build civilian air raid shelters across Germany in 1944. This wasn't just a bunker. This was calculated madness. A massive death camp where over 30,000 prisoners from the Gross-Rosen concentration camp were worked to exhaustion. They dug, they drilled, they blasted through the hard rock of the Ural Mountains, only for thousands to fall without ever seeing the sunlight again. Riese was not built with cement and sand, it was built with the blood and bones of slaves. If you step into the tunnels of Osauka or Uladars today, you will feel the bone-chilling cold of an unsolved past. Soaring corridors, massive rooms the size of a stadium, all roughly hewn yet highly calculated. But the strangest detail lies not underground, but above ground at the project facility in Ludwigsdorf. There, people found a bizarre circular concrete structure, dubbed by researchers as the Henge or Mucho Lopka. From afar, it looks like the ruins of a miniature Roman Colosseum or a base for a giant cooling tower. However, modern engineers have pointed out anomalies, heavily insulated reinforced steel and deep pits beneath the base bearing traces of massive power conduits. Many noir theories have been proposed. Could this be a testing ground for anti-gravity devices? Or was it the launch pad for Die Glocke when the device reached an energy threshold sufficient to bend space? This structure stands there like a giant skeleton, defying all logical explanation, hinting at a technology humanity was not ready to comprehend. The secret of Die Glocke might have forever remained under the dust of time if not for the investigation of Igor Witkowski, a renowned Polish military investigative journalist. In the 1990s, Witkowski claimed a Polish intelligence officer gave him access to classified documents from the interrogation files of Jacob Sporenberg, an SS lieutenant general, Gruppenführer, captured after the war. In those yellowed pages, Sporenberg confessed to a project with the highest security clearance in the Third Reich, codenamed Laternenträger, lantern bearer. He described a bell-shaped object that emitted a buzzing sound like a disturbed beehive and a strange bluish-violet light. According to Witkowski, these documents were not merely hearsay. They contained technical details about a red liquid designated Zerum 525 and horrifying experimental procedures on animals and plants. Witkowski spent years connecting the clues, from torn blueprints to chemical traces at Project Riese, to paint a picture of a weapon not of this world. Despite controversies over its authenticity, Witkowski's file was the first shot that tore away the veil covering the hellish bell. As the Soviet Red Army was only miles away from the Ural Mountains, a ruthless order was issued from Hans Kammler's office: destroy everything. All technical documents, experimental specimens, and most importantly, living witnesses. Thousands of Sonderkommando prisoners, those who directly installed the equipment and operated the secret underground bunkers, were executed en masse. The SS left no loopholes. The tunnel entrances were blown up, permanently burying whatever was happening inside. Why were the Nazis so determined? If Riese were merely a shelter bunker or a conventional weapons factory, they wouldn't have needed to eliminate even their own loyal scientists. This dead silence is the clearest evidence that, at Riese, the Third Reich had found, or was creating, something far beyond the scope of a conventional war. A secret that, in the words of a surviving SS officer, it could not only help us win the war, it could change the destiny of all mankind. In the list of war criminals of the Third Reich, some names have become symbols of evil, like Himmler or Goebbels. But there is one name that, despite holding the most terrifying secrets, seems to have been deliberately erased from mainstream history pages: Hans Kammler. Born in 1901, Kammler was not originally a warrior. He was a civil engineer, a doctor with an extremely sharp and cold organizational mind. What turned a bespectacled intellectual into the most powerful man right behind Heinrich Himmler? It was his ability to turn the most insane ideas on blueprints into reality at any cost. By 1944, Kammler controlled all the V weapons projects, vengeance weapons, Hitler's weapons of retaliation. He didn't just build missile launch bunkers, he built a parallel empire within the SS. Kammler was granted plenipotentiary power, a form of total operational authority, allowing him to bypass all military administrative barriers to report directly to Hitler. He was the wizard pulling the strings of Nazi Germany's black projects, and Die Glocke was the crown jewel of that wizard's empire. To understand Hans Kammler's brutality, look at Mittelbau-Dora. This wasn't just a concentration camp, it was a V-2 rocket manufacturing plant hidden deep inside a mountain. Under Kammler's direction, humans were not considered living beings, but merely consumable fuel. He designed a slave labor system so ruthless that even veteran SS officers shuddered. Prisoners had to live, work, and die in the darkness of damp tunnels, never seeing the sunlight. It is estimated that about 20,000 people died at Dora, more than the number killed by the V-2 rockets themselves when they fell on London. But for Kammler, those were just statistics. He needed speed, he needed secrecy. And most importantly, he needed structures that could not be destroyed by Allied bombs. Kammler's cruelty was calculated. He used the deaths of tens of thousands of people to create the perfect cover for physics experiments ahead of their time. If Die Glocke needed an environment completely isolated from the outside world, Kammler was the one who built that fortress with the blood and bones of slaves. May 9, 1945, the day Nazi Germany surrendered. While other high-ranking leaders chose suicide or capture, Hans Kammler performed one final magic trick: he vanished completely. There are at least 6 different versions of Kammler's death: suicide by poison, shot by his aide-de-camp to avoid capture, or killed in action during the Siege of Prague. However, no body was ever found. No DNA test or physical evidence confirmed Kammler was dead. This is when the noir theories began to rise. Would a man holding all the blueprints for missiles, stealth aircraft, and the Bell simply accept death so easily? Theory A: Kammler struck a deal with US intelligence. He took briefcases filled with microfilm of the Die Glocke project in exchange for a new identity in South America or deep within the United States. Theory B: more extreme. Those who believe in the power of Die Glocke argue that, in his final hours in the Ural Mountains, Kammler activated the machine. He didn't escape by plane or submarine, he escaped by stepping out of the timeline. Whatever the truth is, the fact that a war criminal of Kammler's caliber vanished without a trace is a slap in the face to post-war justice. History often mentions Wernher von Braun as the star of Operation Paperclip, the man who put America on the moon. But in reality, US intelligence desired Hans Kammler exponentially more. Why? Because von Braun was just a scientist. Kammler was the man holding the entire system. Kammler knew all the secret underground bunker locations, knew the identities of top engineers, and held documents on projects far beyond the V-2 rocket. The strange thing is that in the US National Archives and Records Administration, NARA, the file on Hans Kammler is extremely thin and full of illogical gaps. While the files of lower-ranking SS officers are stored in detail, the file of the chief architect of doom remained highly classified for decades. Many investigators believe that the US secretly captured Kammler and hid him away to exploit secrets about zero-point energy and anti-gravity technology from Die Glocke. If von Braun gave America space, then perhaps Kammler gave them the keys to other dimensions. Washington's silence on Kammler is indirect proof that the Bell is not a myth, and what it brings is so valuable that people are willing to cover up for a mass murderer. Amidst the thick concrete walls of Project Riese, Die Glocke was unlike any weapon humanity had ever seen. According to descriptions collected by Igor Witkowski, it was a bell-shaped object, about 3 to 4 meters high, with a diameter of approximately 2.7 meters. The entire outer shell was crafted from an extremely heavy, dark alloy, covered by a layer of special insulating ceramic-like material to withstand immense heat and radiation. Inside that cold casing was a ghostly marvel of engineering. Die Glocke contained 2 lead cylinders, spinning in opposite directions at terrifying speeds. But what truly formed the soul of this monster was Zerum 525. Described as a dark red liquid, thick as mercury and shimmering with a mystical light, Zerum 525 was stored in lead thermos flasks. Many researchers believe this was a form of red mercury enriched with highly radioactive isotopes or compounds of beryllium and thorium. When the 2-cylinder axes spun in opposite directions at extremely high speeds, this liquid would become ionized, creating a massive electromagnetic field along with a ghostly bluish-violet light escaping from the machine's crevices. It wasn't just energy, it was the disruption of the structure of reality. Nazi Germany didn't just build Die Glocke, they tested it. And the price of those tests was an indescribable horror. According to files from SS interrogations, during each activation lasting no more than a few minutes, a zone of influence was established within a radius of about 200 meters around the bell. What happened in this zone was a nightmare for biology. Experimental animals, from rats and monkeys to plant specimens, all suffered the same fatal destiny. In the first few seconds, soft tissues began to decompose without any signs of excessive heat. Proteins coagulated, and cells were torn apart at the molecular level. Witnesses described the bodies of the test animals being turned into a slimy liquid, with a strong odor of ozone and rotting decay. Even stranger were the effects on plants. All the chlorophyll in the leaves disappeared completely within a few hours, turning the surrounding lush green forests into white ghosts before they crumbled to dust. Why? Noir physicists argue that Die Glocke created a rupture in the fundamental chemical bonds of life. It didn't destroy with bullets or fire, it erased existence by draining the binding energy between atoms. 5 out of the 7 scientists involved in the initial tests died mysteriously, their bodies ravaged by a mutant form of cancer unknown to medicine at the time. To explain the madness of Die Glocke, we must step into the world of non-traditional physics, where Newton's laws are torn to shreds. Researchers believe that the Nazis found a way to harness torsion fields. In physics, if mass creates gravity, then the spin of mass can create a torsion field. When the two axes containing Zerum 525 spun in opposite directions at subsonic speeds, they created an intensely powerful vortex effect into the very structure of the vacuum. Imagine space-time as a flat fabric. Planets cause it to dip, creating gravity. But Die Glocke did more than that, it twisted that fabric. In the 1940s, while Einstein was struggling with the unified field theory to connect gravity and electromagnetism, SS scientists under Kammler seemed to have found an experimental shortcut. By using spin-polarized nuclei in the Zerum liquid, they created a localized anti-gravity field. If an object can twist space strongly enough, it can not only levitate but also create a bubble separated from the timeline of the outside universe. The final code name for the project wasn't the Bell, but Der Chronos, the name of the god of time in Greek mythology. This is the key to understanding Hitler's ultimate ambition. In the final stages of the war, when panzer divisions were crushed and German cities were nothing but ashes, a weapon of mass destruction like the atomic bomb was no longer enough to turn the tide. Hitler needed a miracle. He needed to change history. Many theories suggest that the ultimate goal of Die Glocke was not a flying bomb, but a primitive time machine. If the SS could send a message, a blueprint, or even an assassination squad back into the past to prevent the defeat at Stalingrad or assassinate Allied leaders years prior, the outcome of the war would be changed forever. The name Chronos suggests that the space-bending experiments in the previous chapter were actually the premise to opening a rift in the timeline. Every hum of Die Glocke was an attempt to drill through the wall of the present. The disappearance of Hans Kammler along with the machine at the last minute was not merely a geographical escape. Perhaps the architect of death had truly stepped through the portal he spent his life building, leaving posterity with a massive question mark: did he reach a future where Nazi Germany won, or was he crushed by the very flow of time he tried to conquer? December 9, 1965. 20 years after Hans Kammler and the Bell disappeared from the Ural Mountains, a shocking event occurred in the small town of Kecksburg, Pennsylvania, USA. A flaming object streaked across the sky and crashed into the dense forest. Local witnesses, including volunteer firefighters, described a bell-shaped metal object, roughly the size of a Volkswagen Beetle. The most shocking thing wasn't its shape, but the strange characters engraved around its base, characters that looked like Egyptian hieroglyphs mixed with ancient Nordic symbols, runes. The coincidence in shape and description with the Nazi Die Glocke was undeniable. Immediately, the US military locked down the entire area, declaring it was just a meteorite or a broken satellite. However, witnesses claimed to have seen a flatbed truck transporting the object away in the night under maximum security. Could it be that the Americans didn't just seize Kammler's files, but actually continued Project Chronos at black sites like Area 51? The Kecksburg crash might have been a failed test of a made-in-USA version of Die Glocke. In the world of noir theories, Hitler's death in Berlin was just an act. The true legacy of the SS was believed to have followed the Sea Wolf U-boat fleets heading towards the southern hemisphere. The theory regarding Base 211 in the Neuschwabenland region of Antarctica suggests that Nazi Germany built a high-tech fortress in massive ice caves. This was where Die Glocke was brought to be perfected. Reports of flying saucers, Hanbu, appearing densely after the war, along with the U.S. Navy's Operation High Jump in 1947, a massive military mission to Antarctica with vague objectives, further increased suspicions of a hunt for the remnants of SS technology. Additionally, in the jungles of Argentina and Brazil, closed complexes of former fascist officers sprang up. It is rumored that Kammler was seen here, still continuing the work of coordinating dirty money and extreme physics experiments. Die Glocke was not just a machine, it had become the dark holy grail that generations of neo-Nazis and underground organizations lusted to possess to establish a new world order. Why does mainstream science always scoff at the mention of Die Glocke, yet agencies like DARPA quietly spend billions of dollars on zero-point energy research? The theory of Die Glocke is based on harnessing energy from the cosmic vacuum itself through extremely powerful torsion fields. If this is true, it would end the era of oil and nuclear power, shattering the entire global economic structure. This silence is not due to a lack of evidence, but because of fear. Admitting that Nazi Germany had touched an eternal energy source since the 40s is a humiliation for Western academia. However, in secret laboratories, research on superconducting liquids with properties similar to Zerum 525 is still quietly taking place. Our modern advancements in ion engines or particle accelerators might just be scraps picked up from the legacy of the Bell. Anyone who attempts to touch the truth about Die Glocke must face devastating consequences. During the Cold War, a series of independent researchers and former intelligence officers died under unusual circumstances. Bizarre car accidents, suicides leaving no notes, or cancers erupting so rapidly as to be suspicious. Igor Witkowski, the first to publish the files, also shared about being followed and threatened by unknown entities. There is a secret guardians force, possibly a descendant organization of the SS or a dark faction within the US government, guarding the Die Glocke files. They understand that information about the ability to bend time and space is a weapon more dangerous than any nuclear warhead. Once the truth about Die Glocke is revealed, it will collapse all faith in modern history. Its legacy does not lie in the concrete blocks in Poland, but in the fear that envelopes anyone who dares to search for the violet light amidst the dark night of lies. We have walked through the dark tunnels of Project Riese, faced the brutality of Hans Kammler, and touched upon the craziest physics theories of the 20th century. Now, as the thick fog of history begins to settle, the question remains, what was Die Glocke really? Was it merely a stolen scientific achievement, a desperate attempt by German physicists to create a new propulsion engine, but distorted by the propaganda machine and UFO hunters? Or was it an elaborate SS hoax, a red herring thrown out to distract the Allies from the real secrets of nuclear weapons? But there is also a third possibility, far more terrifying. Die Glocke was an entity beyond the comprehension of humanity at that time. It was a violation of the laws of nature, a door bending time that humans accidentally opened but never knew how to close. The horrific deaths of the scientists and the traceless disappearance of Kammler are the very evidence showing, when you gaze long into the abyss of time, the abyss will gaze back into you. In the world of historical noir, the truth often does not bring salvation, it only brings obsession. There are files best left to lie in the darkness, covered in the dust of oblivion. Because the price of touching the flow of time, of changing what is destined, is often paid with the very soul of the seeker. Nazi Germany tried to do that. They tried to grab the steering wheel of destiny with a lead bell and a liquid the color of devil's blood. Ultimately, they still failed, but the dark legacy they left behind is still lurking somewhere in black underground bases, or perhaps, within the very rifts of space-time that we cannot yet perceive. The secret of Die Glocke remains a massive question mark suspended over modern history. What do you believe? Do you believe the bell is lying dormant, sealed in some top-secret archive in the basement of the Pentagon? Or do you believe it is still present, humming a deadly frequency somewhere amidst the rifts of time, waiting for another hand to touch it? Leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Your deductions might be the final puzzle piece to deciphering this file. This is the Noir Archive. See you again when the darkness speaks.